You're listening to Ask the Expert with Andrew Johnston.
Welcome in, everyone, to this week's Fast Fact. I'm your host for this one, Andrew Johnston, and thank you so much for spending time with us today. The Fast Fact for today is simply this: dentistry must stop looking at the hygiene department as a lost leader. I am so sick of hearing it, and I'm so sick of the blame being placed on the dental hygienist for the practice's inability to make the hygiene department profitable. So in this quick episode, we're going to set the record straight. We're going to look at a couple things that might need fixing if your office is not where it should be. And I think the place to start for this is looking at a simple formula for success. The only two components that you really need are an appropriate amount of patients and correct diagnostics and treatment planning, and that alone should make you profitable. So the first part of the equation is important because you can only do so much with the patients that are on the schedule. If there's only 2 patients on the schedule, you can only do so much. But if it's a full schedule, then you have a lot more success. We know that statistically about half of adults over 30 have some sort of periodontal disease. So if we're working 8 hours a day and we have an hour per patient, we know statistically that this should end up, on average, if we did a month's end report and look back at the number of perio patients that we had, it should be about 50% over that whole entire month. Now, day to day, that might be a little bit different, but let's talk about the ideal schedule. So if 4 of those ones end up being perio patients, let's take one of them and assume that we're going to be doing some sort of SRP or something like that on that patient. It's an initial therapy patient. Now, we also know that takes a little bit longer. So instead of 8 patients in a day, because it's still only the same 8 hours, we're going to probably pull that back to about 7 patients a day because SRPs do take longer. We're not likely to get half a mouth or however many done in just an hour. So now it's 4 of 7 that are periodontally involved. 1 of those 4 is the scaling and replaning. 3 of them are going to be in perio maintenance protocol. We can assume that the other 3 patients that are on our schedule are going to be adult prophies. So quick math. Let's say 2 quads of SRP, the national average cost for that is about $250 a quad. Let's say $150 for perio maintenance and $100 for the prophy. So $250 times 2 is about $500. Sorry, not about, it is actually exactly $500. Plus the $150 times 3, which is $450, plus $100 for each of the prophies, in which there are 3 of them. So that's $300. So if you add all that up, it's about $1,250. Now, if the hygienist is making $50 an hour for 8 hours, that's $400. They say that the hygiene department should produce 3 times their wage. And actually, if you have a chance to hear Rachel Wall speak on this, she does a really great job of explaining why that number is there. In fact, I probably need to have her back on the show really soon, and we can touch on that. But if that's the case, the scenario that I just showed you, we have achieved that 3x, that healthy schedule. Now, not every day is going to be the same. Sometimes there are going to be more SRPs than others. That's why we live in a world of averages. Now, we haven't even looked at any other procedure other than what we are often reduced to, which is the scaling aspect. But if we add in other preventive services, the fluoride varnishes, the sealants, the lasers, the oral cancer screenings, perioprotect, clear aligner therapy, etc., it all adds up to hundreds and hundreds more dollars a day. And on top of that, which again, I don't understand why we're the loss leader, because we're also teeing up all this restorative treatment that needs to happen for this patient as well. So the potential for profit is huge. Well, if it's so easy, Andrew, why do people fail? Well, let me just talk to you about a few of the top reasons real quick before we end this episode. Number 1, poor diagnostic skills, and kind of along the same lines, poor treatment plan acceptance rates. If you're bad at that, then everything else is going to not work, right? If you look back and you're like, oh, wow, we did 12% perio in our office, that's just not, it just doesn't work. I mean, you guys are missing something. You are way underdiagnosing. Number 2 is the fee schedule. I talked about the national averages a minute ago. Well, guess what? If your office has had a bad negotiator and decided to take plans that do not benefit the patient enough with their coverage, and also do not benefit you as a clinician for your time and effort, then that's on you. And so you need to figure out the fee schedule thing. Number 3, too many patients. I know that sounds kind of weird because it's like, oh, wow, if we had more patients, more money. Kind of. But I think a lot of people think of packing them in like sardines and hey, that's a great idea. Guess what? It's not. If you give the hygienist time to educate properly, the patients are going to choose to accept the recommended treatment or the prescribed treatment. Number 4, not hiring the right team members. Culture fit is incredibly important, but you need someone who actually cares about what they do and who knows why they're doing what they're doing. You can't hire for a warm body. And kind of along the same lines for that, you need to expect a lot out of your team and you need to explain your expectations properly. I don't know what number 5, maybe. I can't remember. I lost track. It's the pay thing. Man, this thing bothers me to no end. Quibbling about $3 an hour. Look, that's going to be what, $25 a day? It's not that much. But the funny thing is, I'm actually on the side of the company when it comes to pay for the most part, because I get that historically hygienists have been underpaid for the services in many areas. I also get the side of it where hygienists have held offices hostage in many areas. But right now, I'm going to set that to the side because I kind of don't care about that. If you are so concerned with paying your hygienist $3 more an hour, and the hygienist, if you're concerned about getting that $3 more an hour, guess what we need to do? Have a freaking conversation. Be adults. You need to figure it out, because there are ways to make the office more money and to quote unquote profit share with your hygienist for that money. The hygienists that I know that are making more than $150,000 a year in hygiene are killing it. They're working so hard, but they're killing it. It's absolutely not being handed to them. They hustle. And guess what happens? When they hustle, their offices benefit from that hustle. There's a way to do this, and everyone needs to get together and figure this part out. So those are probably some of the top reasons I can think of why your office might not be as profitable. So no, the hygiene department is not a loss leader. And if you aren't turning a profit in your office, you need to dig into it. If you have any very specific questions for me, shoot me an email, andrew@hygienist.com. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Fast Facts Ask the Expert. If you have a topic you'd like one of our experts to answer, simply email me, andrew@hygienist.com, and we will get it on the air as soon as possible. Thanks for listening.